back in the studio, and it feels good for a Keeping Track segment with Dino. Oberto did the Pocono races a few weeks ago. Always involved with racing around here. We're going to get into a lot of things. Dino, good to see you once again, sir. So out at Pocono, there was a big story. You've been covering her for a while. Evergreens champion in 2020, Stephanie Moyer. She goes out in the ARCA Series East this year. Comes to Pocono for her first ever ARCA race, first time racing on a super speedway in her ARCA car.
You know, Stephanie was so excited about this, and Pocono actually wasn't one of her favorite tracks to be going to, and she's never raced on there. She never took a lap on there. In her case, like most of the young talent coming up, they do everything simulator-wise. But, you know, she was very calm. She went out, we went up to see her practice on a Thursday of that week, and, you know, it was kind of baby steps, if you will. You know, she was trying to get that car up to speed. It wasn't where she exactly wanted it to be. Her car owner, Andy Hillenberg, was spotting for her and basically setting the car up for her. He's raced there. He's a former champion with the series. And slowly but surely, it was all about track time. It was all about getting those laps out there. And by the time the race rolled around, she qualified decently, and she just stayed out of trouble. She did one particular maneuver during the race to stay away from an accident, but other than that, despite coming a lap, maybe two down, her goal was to finish in 15th position. She did very, very well, all things considered, never being on a track of that size other than testing at Daytona a few months back in December to get approved by the series, but other than that, it's all been short track of basically half-mile style tracks. So I think she did pretty good, and I think there's more to come from her.
Dino, the overall weekend at Pocono Raceway, you said first time there were fans in the stands for this doubleheader weekend, 5 races in 3 days.
You know what? It was like the old Pocono of about 10 years or so ago. Things have kind of mellowed down in the last couple of years crowd-wise. It's been like that all across the industry in motorsports. But that past weekend when we were up there, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, absolutely amazing to see the crowds, to be stuck in traffic. You know it's a good thing. You could hear the roar of the crowd. I think the doubleheader was an unqualified success for these guys. They did it last year. I guess everybody should understand that, but unfortunately they did it. It was the silence of the fans, I called it, but there was nobody there. So they didn't have a chance to really test what they needed to do in front of a full house, but the fans just came out in droves. And Kenny, one of the most impressive things is by, I think, Tuesday leading into that week of the race, all of the camping was sold out, and there was absolutely nothing. The infield was packed. There was 3,800 campers there. The grandstands were full, you know, 100% restriction free there. So it was just like, wow, we're back to normal again. And they really did a great job, and it was great to see those fans, and they came out and they supported what they missed a year ago. So, you know, kudos to just about everybody, especially the team up there at Pocono, to pull off what they did in a 48-hour period.
There's one interesting fan there, Michael Jordan, basketball great, maybe the greatest of all time, sitting right near you, Dino. I mean, you were pretty close up there at Pocono.
You know, it's funny, our press box on the top of the grandstands, it's a whole row of suites up there, and we're up there. Our announcing booth is there, and we're right next to the press box. And all day Saturday, which when they had the trucks and the first of the 2 cup races, by the end of the day, you know, one of the guys in there said, hey, you know, he was here. I said, who? He said, Jordan. Michael Jordan was right there. I said, come on. And sure enough, they showed me a picture, and he was within just a couple of feet of me. So he was back again the next day, kind of private suite of his own right next to us. But there he was, and it was kind of neat. So he's a car owner for Bubba Wallace. He's affiliated with Denny Hamlin. They're basically in there together owning that number 23 car. Got his first top 5 with the team, and was so cool is that when they took the checkered flag, Bubba on Sunday got a 5th place finish. He stood up. The people in the suite next to him were cheering. You could hear them all the way over where our room is, and he actually turned around, acknowledged them, and you know, they're all giving high fives to each other, and it was pretty cool. So
Bloomsburg Fairgrounds, very exciting, getting ready to race up there again. You'll be the voice, you said. You'll be announcing the races up there for Bloomsburg Fair when they get started.
First time in 34 years that motorsports has returned to that track. since 1922 to 1987, they ran yearly when the fair was there on a half-mile cinder track. If you've ever gone to the Bloomsburg Fair, it's right there under the covered where the covered grandstands are. But for liability insurance reasons, they had to stop it. This past year, the fair board got together and said, you know, we should try this. And what they did was they built a track inside of a track. They put a 3/8 mile dirt track inside of the half-mile track. A couple of weeks ago, they actually had their first event. They brought in two national series, the USAC sprint cars with drivers from across the country, and the ULMS late model series, which also competes throughout the United States. Those two organizations came in. There was somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 people that showed up in the grandstands for that, and it was just amazing, and everybody really was receptive to that. There's some work that has to be done. Bugs got to be worked out with the track and dust and things like that, but to be there when they turned the first shovel in January of this year, and to see that first set of cars go out there in a progression of how they continued to build it from walls and everything else, that was pretty neat to be a part of that.
And in the Standard Speaker, I read an article by Dino, and one of the first people out there on that track to give it a test before the racing, Jacob Balliot from our area, 17-year-old we've had on the show before. Can't believe he's 17 now, Dino, but what an opportunity for him to get to go and do this.
Jacob, it was such a great honor to him. Again, like Stephanie Moyer, to watch this kid grow up, come up through the quarter midget ranks, get into the micro sprint ranks, and the last 2 years now running a 358 wing sprint car in central Pennsylvania, of all places, which is the heart and soul of sprint car racing, the best in the country compete there. But because he's locally, he and another guy by the name of Sean Lawton brought a late model there, but to have the distinction of being that very first car to test on that track, that's something you can never take away from him. And it was neat to follow his career path and then follow that whole storyline of him getting around that track, and talking to Levi Jones, who was a multi-time USAC champion who was there to help build that track, and to see all that, it was really neat.
Dino, thank you so much. Anything you're working on for the Standard Speaker that we can expect coming up or anything, or just people to look out in the speaker?
Well, I'll tell you what, we got up from out of mountaintop, Nick Ross right now. You talk about who's hot and who's not. Point leader in the late model division at Evergreen and Mahoning Valley. I'll tell you, that's something that's not easy to do that. Two different tracks, two different types of setups.
Well, look out for Dino's work in the Standard Speaker, and you can see him here as well on SSPTV News.